I come from a very religious background, the ultra-Orthodox Hasidic from the Satmar sect. For people who know that, that's quite extreme. My father, for instance, is anti-Israel. My family, the whole community where I grew up in, until today my father would never go to the Western Wall because that's a Zionistic symbol. Interesting story was recently, he was in Israel and my brother wanted to go to the Kotel with him. And he said, well, you know, you can't go to the Kotel, but we could go close around it. And now for my father, going to the Kotel means passing the security, the metal detector. So he said he could go up until there. And they were walking around and they saw a place that goes down to the wall before the security. And they decided to go pray there instead. And they didn't know what this place was. When they sent me the pictures, I told them, you know that you went to the Reform Kotel. They went to Ezrat Yisrael on that side. So, yes. I think I was always a very independent thinker, but mainly it started in Israel, probably at the age of 23, 24. And it's a process that went on for 5, 6 years until I really decided that this is not for me and I'm going somewhere else. And even when I decided that, I couldn't tell anyone because I know how the community works. I was in the circles of power and influence within the community. I was a gabbai to many rabbis. I worked I was the deputy CEO of a kosher internet company. I sat with the people that make the decisions within the community. I know how these things work, and I know what happens when somebody wants to leave. So I had to keep it to myself for a very long time. And even when I left, nobody knew I was leaving. Literally nobody knew I was leaving. Going from the ultra-Orthodox world to the liberal world is like moving from the 17th century to today. It doesn't really happen. There is something in us that will always be part of that world. There's like a certain language that we have amongst us that nobody else would understand ever if you don't grow up with it, if you're not. We grew up in the medieval times. Like it seems to be as if, you know, they have cars and phones and computers and emails, but the whole mindset that they have is so different than the Western world. They're really living in a different universe. They're not living with us on the same planet that we are. How did I leave? Yeah. Well, technically, I got onto a plane and came to Berlin. This was for me a very long journey, as it in most cases is. It's not a one-moment thing or something that happened. It's a long process of research and searching for myself, my own way, my own beliefs, what I believe in and what I was told and what I was taught, and confronting that with what we know in the Western world as reality and history and things that really exist and not just stories that are printed in books and that are passed on. And when you go through that process, the entire belief system starts crumbling down. And then you have to rebuild everything from scratch in a new system, because up until then, everything had a purpose and everything was very, very gold. You had a goal and a purpose, why you're living, what you're doing, everything. And when that goal is taken away, when that purpose is taken away, then you have to find a reason why to wake up in the morning, why to do anything, because all the reasons you had until now don't exist anymore. The individual doesn't exist. It's everything all around the community, all around the religion, all around the rabbi or whatever. There's one core value that holds everything together. And when you lose that one core value, you have to start over again. Well, there are only 7 countries in the world where university is free. Germany is one of them. Another country is North Korea, but I don't know if you want to study there. A few Scandinavian countries have it also, but it's very expensive to live there. So I did the calculations of which language will I need to learn to study there. Here, German, Yiddish, I thought, maybe it will help me a bit. And I calculated what it would cost to live there just to stay alive there, and Germany, Berlin at least, is cheaper. So that's how Germany came about. I could have ended up in München or Stuttgart for the same purpose. And I came to Berlin for very technical reasons. The cheapest flight ticket I found was to Berlin. Yes, that was clear that I'm coming to Berlin to seek an academic education, which is very complicated financially in America, where I come from originally, or in Israel, it's also very complicated. And it's even more complicated when you leave into the 21st century without having any documents whatsoever, because I didn't even have an abitur, I didn't have anything. I never got any document whatsoever from any school that I was in. I have 2 documents just to prove that I was in school, because I had to have it for some passport, whatever, embassy things. But other than that, people go through life without having any document that they studied anything ever, anywhere. And they could be famous rabbis and very influential people, and they have no documentation whatsoever. I mean, if you calculate the yeshiva world, from the age of 13 until the age of 20, we studied from 7 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night every day. And the mass of study that we went through is equivalent to a PhD. Like, it's a lot of knowledge that we had to go through. But it's not recognized anywhere, and you have no document proving that you ever studied it at all. When I came to the university and they said, well, you have to take Einführung in the Bibel. I was like, really? Like, this is, we have to go now, start from scratch. And I said, well, I'm studying Bible from when I'm 5. They said, yeah, but you don't have any document. You can't prove it. We can't do anything with that. It's not recognized whatsoever. There's no, the universities, I mean, the professors know that I know some stuff. The truth is, when I came to Germany, I thought I will never be Jewish again whatsoever. I thought I would not have contact with Jewish life at all again. And that chapter of my life is in the past, and now I'm going to live a normal civil life. Judaism kind of pulled me back in through my non-Jewish girlfriend at the time. She has a master's in Jewish studies. She's the subject specialist of the Staatsbibliothek in Berlin for Hebrew manuscripts. And through her, I actually got a sense of how Judaism could be from a non-Orthodox way. My first language is Yiddish. It's my first language, and I only learned English many years later on my own. We had, from the age of 6, 7 until the age of 13, we had 1 hour a day of secular studies. And this hour had to have English, basic English, just ABC and words, a bit of math, and some history. But like, we had no room for science or biology or any of that. So you graduate school, 8th grade by the age of 13, 14 by us, without knowing English at all. You could read basic text or communicate at a very basic level, but you can't write anything, you can't do anything with it. So I had to learn myself many years later. And even today, my English is not very good. I have spelling mistakes, and if I have to write a real, when I write academic papers, I really have to have someone to proofread it and check it. And yeah, we could do it in Yiddish, we could do it in Hebrew. Yiddish is a very poor language. On the one hand, it's very rich with phrases that you can't even translate, it's so rich. But on the other hand, it's not a very updated language. So in America, people who speak Yiddish mix it with English words. In Israel, people who speak Yiddish mix it with Hebrew words. The only place that I know of where they speak the most authentic Yiddish with the most words in it is Antwerp. But other than that, my Hebrew is actually my best language. I have the most words in Hebrew. And I think I speak it the best, better than any other language. Yeah, there are other places in the world where Yiddish is used. In Israel, they have Yiddish theater, which is not religious at all. Birobijan, they still have Yiddish classes there. I've never been there, but I want to visit that. It's still an official language there. It's a minority language. In Sweden, it's a minority language also. You know that if you go on the police website in Sweden, you could click on Yiddish and see the website in Yiddish. It's a recognized minority language. But the mass of people that are using Yiddish nowadays. I remember I had this conversation with a professor, a Yiddish professor. And she said, well, there's only one way to write Yiddish. There are many ways to pronounce it, but there's one way to write it, and these are the YIVO rules. You know, YIVO is like the ones that made themselves in charge of Yiddish. And I said to her, you know what's funny is that the vast majority of Yiddish-speaking people nowadays, millions of people, they never heard of YIVO. They have their own language. They don't care what you think about them, what the rule is or what the rule is not. And the funniest thing is that the word for Yiddish has more than one spelling. You could spell it Aleph Yud, Daled Yud Shin. You could spell it Yud Yud, Daled Yud Shin. Like, it's a language that in the language itself, there's more than one way to write the name of the language. But that's the thing with Yiddish. It depends with every person where they came from. And I mean, if I read an older Yiddish text, I can more or less figure out who this person was. Was he Russian? Was he Polish? Was he Hungarian? Because I grew up in a very Hungarian Yiddish. But in America. So like, we knew the word for window, Fenster in Yiddish, but we never used it. We just said, F in the window. Yeah, but I think when we question what is Jewish, we have to take that into consideration, because once we do not accept the halakha as the only authority that helps us make decisions as Jews or as rabbis or as communities, then accepting people that their fathers are Jewish is not only, you know, just a practical thing or a egalitarian thing or whatever. It's also a Jewish thing. We have Jewish roots in our history for this claim. So it's not making something new up. That's it now. We have a problem, let's just solve it by making something up. And from now on, we'll do this. No, this is something that we have prior in our tradition already. I feel that the liberal world is very afraid of the Orthodox world, generally speaking. They always want to know, like, what do they think about us? I think it's wrong. I think that the liberal Jews should at once hold their heads high and acknowledge that they are the majority of the Jewish people nowadays. The Orthodoxy is a small minority that hijacked the state of Israel for political reasons. And I think that the Reform and liberal rabbis, communities, Jews all over the world have to stop being afraid of them. It's just not, there's no reason for it. But it's the problem, I was in Israel, I met with the one who's in charge of the egalitarian Western Wall. I met with her. And she gave me a business card. And her business card says, Rakezet HaKotel, like a coordinator of the Kotel. And I asked her, she's a rabbi. I asked her, why doesn't your business card say Rav HaKotel, the rabbi of the Western Wall? There's an Orthodox rabbi, and there's a conservative rabbi. She's conservative, she's Masorti. And she said, I don't know if we can do it for political reasons, this and that. I said, you should stop thinking that. Just claim what you want to be and just be it. Just stop thinking what they think. It doesn't matter. You know, they said about liberal Jews 300 years ago, if you change something, there won't be any more Jews anymore. Where 300 years later, we are the majority. We are most Jews now. They're still the minority. And they're still yelling, in 2 generations there will be no more Jews. That fear is what keeps them together. Like their only existence is this fight that they have, like this fear that they put within their own people. Oh, we're preserving the Jewish people. No, you're not. Most Jews don't live in Israel. Most Jews are not Orthodox. Jewish life is thriving all over the world. We have communities with hundreds and thousands of people. Judaism is more than a religion. We're ethnicity, we're a nation, we're a culture. We have so many things that are more than just religion. Most Jews today are not halakhically religious. I tell this to people all the time. You could be Jewish without being religious. You could be Jewish without believing in it. You could be Jewish without keeping everything. Our arsenal of things that we carried with us for so many years has so much in it, so much culture, so much music and food and traditions and just so many things that we have, that we could carry this on for many more years without being religious. We don't have to be religious. I'm as a rabbi or religious person or of a community, I'm not telling people not to be religious. I'm just saying that there is room for non-religious people in our communities and in our Jewish life, even if you're not religious. I mean, in Judaism we have a branch in Judaism, it's called Reconstructionists. Those rabbis are officially atheists. They say it. Like many Reform rabbis say it also in America. I mean, there's some that say it. But the Reconstructionists, they're a branch of hundreds of thousands of people. They have communities all over the world. And they say, we are atheist rabbis. And that's the beauty of Judaism. You know, it's very hard to be a Christian atheist. You could say, I was baptized because my parents baptized me, but I don't believe in Jesus. And then you're technically a Christian atheist. But you cannot claim to be part of the religion if you don't believe in it. In Judaism, that doesn't happen. You could claim not to believe in anything, and the religion says that you're still Jewish. Either you're converted or you were born Jewish. By all definitions, you're Jewish. I mean, by our internal definitions, and even external people will still see you as Jewish, even if you're an atheist. If you go in the street and you say, my father and mother were Jewish, people will say, you're Jewish. For me, it's important that it's egalitarian. So we have egalitarian, no mechitza. For me, it's important that the text is traditional. And we do the traditional text. Some minor word changes, but generally the text is traditional, the song is traditional. The direction is one. The setup is a traditional synagogue setup. The food is very traditional, like we have gefilte fish and cholent and kishke and kugel, like the real challah, like the whole thing. And like if somebody were to come in and just see the synagogue for as it is, it would look like a traditional Orthodox synagogue. But we don't put any emphasis on keeping halakha. So people could smoke or phones or pictures of this is very acceptable by us. And that the reason why we did it is because it didn't exist in Berlin, and that's exactly what I wanted. Nobody has it. It's either it goes one way and then it gets orgel. We don't have a predict. During the meal, somebody says something short, like a few words, just like a Dvar Torah. Sometimes we have discussions on the parasha and everybody participates, but we don't have this predict thing, no, not at all. And I dress up completely Hasidic with a streimel and everything, as it was when I grew up. And people come and say, how could you wear a streimel and say you don't keep halakha? It contradicts itself. And I think on the contrary, it belongs to us. We decide what we will do with it. If we want to do it this way, this is the way we will do it. It doesn't matter what people in Bnei Brak think about us or in Brooklyn think about us. we are totally independent from them, to live our lives as Jewish people and just continue our tradition as we wish. You know, when you talk about Orthodox community or a liberal community, the people coming there, they're neither Orthodox nor liberal. They're just people. You know, even the people that go to the Orthodox, they come with their cars, they just park it one block away. They're not religious, they don't keep kosher at home. They want to be part of the Orthodox community because they like the rabbi, they like the setting, or their father was, I don't know, whatever reason it is. Most Jewish people in Germany are not religious, not Orthodox, and they themselves live a reform, liberal, maybe a bit conservative life. Depends on what they practice and whatnot. Very few are really, really, you know, either very liberal because they know what the liberal values stand for and they believe in it, or very Orthodox that they really keep everything halacha. So most people are just in between, you know. That's actually something I changed in every community I was. In the liberal world, they see the whole thing that's happening around the Torah as a ceremony. Because halacha will not determine how the ceremony will go through, so if we say that only Jews could get an aliyah, that includes the whole ceremony. Hag Baglila, touching, opening the ark, all that. Halachically speaking, that's incorrect. Even if a non-Jew is not allowed to get an aliyah, a non-Jew could do Hag Baglila, putting the rimonim, opening the ark, putting in, taking out, and I give that to non-Jews, even here in Dresden. And I mean, there are people here that are coming for years. They're going through giyur processes. They're part of the community. They come more than members. Why would you not try to at least get them part of? I was in Göttingen, and one of the Vorstand is married to a Protestant pastor. I didn't know it at the time, but I gave him Hagbah. He was there, he speaks a perfect Hebrew, and he was part of... I don't ask people if you're Jewish or not. If I come to the synagogue, I see the setting, and assume everyone's Jewish, unless somebody comes and tells me I'm not Jewish, or the Gabbai tells me, you know, these people are not Jewish. So I gave him Hagbah, and the whole Gemeinde was like, wow. But then, after they came and said, you know, he's a pastor and he's not Jewish, and I said, even better. That's. I mean, he's married to a Jewish woman. He came to the synagogue. His children are Jewish. He wants to be here. Nobody forced him to come here. He should feel part of it. If, for political reasons, the Gemeinde decided that, or the Zentralat, or whoever decided it, that we cannot accept non-halachic Jews to the Gemeinde as a member, even though there's no halachic basis for it, because being a member of the community doesn't give you any halachic status. The halakha doesn't discuss being a member of a community. You could be a member. I mean, member just means that you're paying money and you get to eat with us. Halakha doesn't talk about that. There's no problem with it. But whatever, they decided that that's how they do it. Fine, I'm not going to change everything, at least until I don't figure out why exactly it is or what the repercussions of it is. But you could be nice to people. You could welcome them in. I mean, we have on top of all our synagogues, Ki beiti bet tefillah yikareh lechol ha'amim. Are we inviting everyone in or not? I came to a synagogue once, here in Germany. I got to the door and they asked me, what's your name? Are you on the list? I said, no. Bist du angemeldet? I said, no. And they said, if you're not angemeldet, you can't come to the service. I said, fine. Just so you know, you're not going to have a chazan for this Shabbat. Yeah. I was supposed to be the chazan there, and the security guard didn't know my name, so I said, fine, I'll go. No, okay, come in. I didn't say that, I'm not a chazan. But I think, you know, it started off with security reasons, you know, or a way to filter out people, if we'll be completely honest. Which is fine. We're in Germany, we have many Philoshemites that want to overflow the communities. In some places, whatever, it happens. And not every community is built for it. They have a small community, they have, 200, 300 people. They don't want 50 non-Jews coming in and taking over the place. Okay, this is our club, fine. Security reasons, you could check me, just see if I have something on me or not. But don't make it, you're not exclusive, you don't have anything special, you're just a synagogue. There are 100 synagogues in Germany. The story with Dresden was very interesting. It was like love from first sight. The first Shabbat I was here, this was not in the big synagogue, but up here in the small one. Someone from the Vorstand came up to me after the service and said, "We will make you an offer you can't refuse." So that was very nice. And it took a while. I was here for the first year as a practicum, and then we got to this final stage during the summer. I feel very comfortable here, yes. Dresden is a Einheitsgemeinde, first of all. They don't belong to any denomination. They're more conservative on one hand. They enjoy the Hasidic background of mine with the culture that I bring with me. Not every community is open to that, especially more liberal ones. And it's a very warm community here. It's very well connected. It's of course every community has politics and everything, but it's a very warm feeling about it. Yes, I feel very comfortable here. And I hope we get to do very great things together, because I keep meeting with people that are in charge here of things in the Gemeinde, and we're doing projects for the youth and for the older and this and that. But we're still, it looks like there's a lot of energy here that wants to be done and used, and I'm very optimistic about it, yes.